Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre II on Wednesday authorizes the National Bureau of Investigation to investigate Rappler for possible violation of the Constitution and laws. Aguirre signs Department Order 17 ordering the NBI to conduct a case build-up against Rappler. He says, quote, if evidence warrants, the NBI is granted authority to file the appropriate cases against those found liable. Solicitor General Jose Calida previously said Rappler officials will be subjected to a criminal investigation by the DOJ for possible violations of the anti-dummy law. The anti-dummy law penalizes evasion of the laws and the nationalization of certain rights, franchises, or privileges. The Securities and Exchange Commission revoked Rappler's registration over Philippine depositary receipts issued to foreign investor Omidyar Network. The SEC and banks had a clause where Rappler should have prior good faith discussion with Omidyar Network before it changes its articles of incorporation or bylaws as a violation of the rule that media companies should have 100% Filipino control. Still on the SEC's revocation of license to operate, Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque on Wednesday says Rappler can opt to apply for blogger accreditation under the Office of Assistant Secretary Mocha Uson if it loses its license to operate. Roque reiterates the Malacanang position that the SEC order to revoke Rappler's license to operate is not an attack on press freedom, as it would not stop Rappler's journalists from blogging. He says, quote, they may need to get accreditation as bloggers because they cannot continue conducting their business as Rappler since the company has, for all intents and purposes, been declared void by the SEC. Roque adds, quote, Maria Ressa can continue to blog. Pia Ranada can continue to blog. The presidential spokesperson's tone was different from the day before, when he said Rappler reporters can continue with their profession of journalism, even given the SEC ruling. Roque on Tuesday said the SEC ruling is not yet final and executory. SEC registration is among the requirements for membership into the Malacanang Press Corps. If Rappler's papers are revoked, it would disqualify the news outlet's reporters from the Organization of Malacanang Beat Reporters. Malacanang comes to the defense of Special Assistant to the President Bongo in response to allegations he intervened in a government project for the construction of 2 Navy frigates. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque on Wednesday says the contract for the construction of the ships was won by Hyundai Heavy Industries even before the Duterte administration. But Rappler and the Philippine Daily Inquirer in their articles say Go intervened in the selection of the supplier for the combat management systems of the 2 ships. The critical CMS, while part of the contract awarded to HHI, is to be provided by a secondary supplier. The secondary supplier is usually dictated by the technical specifications of the contract. The project is in an early stage, the critical design review, which is expected to list down, among others, the secondary suppliers. The CDR needs to be approved by the Philippine Navy before the actual work to build the ship begins. That is where discussions stalled. The Defense Department, HHI, and the Philippine Navy were debating the CMS. The Philippine Navy has not yet approved the CDR, meaning construction of the ships cannot start. Go allegedly intervened by sending a white paper to the DND expressing preference for Hanwha Thales, a South Korean company, as a supplier for the CMS. An undersecretary in his office, Lloyd Christopher Lau, who Go said is no longer working under him, arranged a meeting with the Navy officer in charge of the frigate project to discuss the selection of the CMS supplier. Go denies the allegations. President Rodrigo Duterte defends Go, saying his office does relay papers of reference and other documents to line agencies concerned as a matter of procedure. Senators unanimously decide to reject the proposal for the 2 chambers of Congress to vote jointly on charter change in a constituent assembly. The Senate decision comes just as the House of Representatives approved a resolution that paved the way for Congress to convene as a constituent assembly to revise the Constitution. While House Concurrent Resolution 9 does not explicitly say deliberations and voting will be joint, it stipulates that the 17th Congress of the Republic of the Philippines shall constitute itself into a constituent assembly. The resolution will need Senate concurrence to take effect. Senate Minority Leader Frank Drilon says, quote, the Senate, by not acting on the resolution, effectively stops the process. But we will not do that. We will hear, but we are not obligated to act on it. Or if we act different, that cannot be acted on by the Supreme Court. While the House already came up with proposed amendments in the Constitution and decided that it would do so through a CONAS, the Senate on Wednesday resumes deliberations to determine if amendments or revisions to the Constitution are needed in the first place. The 2 chambers of Congress are deliberating on possible amendments to or a revision of the 1987 Constitution as part of efforts to shift to a federal form of government. President Rodrigo Duterte has been pushing for a shift to a federal form of government. The armed forces on Wednesday says ISIS has not given up on trying to establish an Islamic caliphate, but the regional leadership remains to be in the southern Philippines. The AFP, during its defense on the second extension of martial law in Mindanao before the Supreme Court, presents the names of 4 people plus an unnamed Egyptian who could supposedly replace ISIS Emir Isnilon Hapilon as regional leader. Among them are 3 Filipinos, including the only documented millennial who joined the fight in Syria: Filipino Owaida Marahom Sar or Abu Dar, Filipino Esmael Abdul Malik or Turaifi, Filipino Mohamed Reza Kiram, Indonesian Abu Walid, and an unidentified Egyptian national. Petitioners say there's no actual rebellion that could justify the extension of martial law because the military has declared combat operations in Marawi City to be over. But the military says there is continuing rebellion and remnants of pro-ISIS groups continue recruitment activities. Former White House Chief Strategist Steve Bannon on Tuesday testifies before the House Intelligence Committee in its probe into the Trump campaign's links to Russia. It is the first time Bannon testified in the probe of an alleged collusion between Trump's campaign team and Russia in its bid to influence the 2016 U.S. elections. Bannon was also subpoenaed by Special Counsel Robert Mueller, who is investigating the same issue. This makes Bannon the first person from United States President Donald Trump's inner circle to receive a grand jury subpoena from Mueller in the probe, which is also looking at whether Trump has tried to obstruct the investigation. A controversial book released last week, Fire and Fury: Inside the Trump White House by Michael Wolff, quoted him as saying that a pre-election meeting involving Trump's eldest son Donald Jr. and a Kremlin-linked Russian lawyer was treasonous. Wolff was given substantial access to the White House during Trump's first year by Bannon. Bannon resigned as Trump's chief strategist last August.